Welcome to Emergency Procedures Training for weekend and non-office hours. This is targeted at people who are here for nighttime and Sunday activities, weekend activities. What we're going to cover is fire, weather, serious injury and illness, got utilities emergencies, suspicious people. Got a room full, that's a different problem. Talk about weapons and suspicious packages and substances, bomb threats, emergency numbers, and lockdowns. Lockdowns are not up there. That's one of the things I realized we left off. We had made a few changes after the last one, and I forgot to change that. Okay? So, don't panic, which is the most common reaction that we get. One of our police officers who comes and trains the preschool said something a couple of years ago when she was helping train, and we were talking about lockdowns and active shooters and that sort of thing. But what she said was to think about it. Said, your body can't go where your brain hasn't been. Think about it. Look at this stuff. Think about what would I do in that kind of situation? Whether it's fires or any of these different scenarios. What am I going to do? Lay in bed and think about it. Pray about it before you go to sleep at night. But think about it. Because if you haven't thought about it, at least thought about it, if something happens, you're going to stop, have to think, okay, what do I do? What do the procedures say? And there'll be a delay in your reaction. So think about what you might do if these situations present themselves. Okay? If you get a smell of something's not right, then if you're uncertain, call the fire department. Just call the fire department. Our human tendency is to kind of second guess ourselves, to think about it, but just go ahead and call the fire department. Okay. If you see fire or smoke, pull the alarm. Don't wait. Just go find a pull box and pull it. There are a bunch of them scattered around the building. If you're in an area where you're there frequently, look around you and see where the pull boxes are. There's one out here in the hallway. There's one by the front door. I know there's another one back there at the youth door. There are a bunch of them scattered around the building. You know what they look like? Little red rectangles on the wall. Pull the alarm. Don't think about too much about it. Just do it. All right, get the next one. Okay. There are maps in each room. There's one on the wall back here that shows evacuation routes, and it shows both a primary evacuation route and a secondary route. Now, most of us have been through fire drills all our lives because we started out doing it in elementary school or kindergarten. But just take a look at it. Think about this room. How many ways are there out of here? So, what's the closest way? Probably right here and out that door beside the sanctuary, or out that door, depending on where you go. But for every room you get into, think about that. Just take a moment to look around when you sit in the room. Think about how you're going to get out. And there is, like I said, there's a fire map in every room in the building. So just take a look at it. Okay? So, close windows and doors as you exit. This says don't lock the door. We talked about that in the preschool with the police, with the concerns now about active violence. Don't take those doors lock automatically. They're set that way. Just close it. Don't worry about it. Try to close windows and doors because that minimizes the draft to feed the fire. Okay. If you've got an exit that's blocked, use any means you can. This is your permission to break windows, mess up doors and furniture, and you have official legal permission to damage church property. Do what you got to do to get out. In these rooms along this courtyard, we could go out a window and go through another door. Because two of those three doors, this particular door doesn't work coming in, but the library door and the youth wing door, if you're in the courtyard, you can get out through both of those doors. They're not locked from inside the courtyard. So there are other ways out of here. If the only exit is out is through the fire or smoke, use your clothing to filter the smoke. Pull your sweater up over your whatever you've got. Get down on the floor. Smoke, heat, the fumes rise. It's like if the smoke alarm goes off in your house and you're at night, your normal tendency is to stand up. No, roll out of bed. Hit the floor. Don't hit it hard, but roll out of bed. Stay low, because it may still not be pleasant, but it'll be much better than the air higher up. And it's amazing how much it changes from low down just a few feet, because the fumes build up at the ceiling first and then work their way down. Okay. Go to designated safe areas. This is more aimed at classrooms than if we have something general on Sunday morning, but the tree line over there at the soccer field for the preschool area out there, the area here between the junior school and us, the tree line there, those are the designated areas. And if the fire or something were to be really big and blazing and we got half of Westchester's equipment here, you might want to move on to the junior school lawn or something like that. Use good judgment. If it doesn't feel right, move. Okay. So if you're a Sunday school teacher, if you've got a class full of people and you have a roster, like I do for 5th and 6th grade, my move ought to be, alarm goes off or we smell something, I should grab that roster and go. Take the kids with me, make sure that I know who's with me and if anybody's missing. Not too hard for us because I don't have very many. But for some of the classes, we may have much bigger rosters. And it might, and if it's people you're not familiar with singing too, because you can have visitors, kind of keep up with who you got in the classroom. The youth director, and I'm not sure how this plays out now between you and Kelly, Misty, but
we had talked about it because a lot of times she is on the stage.
Right.
If it's, she cannot get to her phone. So in that case, you would call myself or the new person, whoever takes over for Jennifer.
Yeah.
So because oftentimes Kelly doesn't have her phone on her when she's leading worship.
Yeah. So you got to call if something goes wrong, call emergency contact. Make sure you get help. There's some procedures for where the equipment is, for the ushers, and I don't know how familiar you are with that, Kurt, but in the right-hand column out here, at the foot of the crow's nest over there at the CLC, there's some reflective vests and walkie-talkies and the bullhorn. And so, in theory, if something were to go have a fire or something like that on Sunday morning, then Amy or Lynn would be the designated person unless y'all decide something else. Go put a vest on, grab the walkie-talkie, turn the walkie-talkies on. There are multiple walkie-talkies in that bag. And then the coordinator is supposed to go out, probably by the mailbox. That's what the fire department said, where they said they would pull up normally, unless it's a big fire, and they back off some. But they're going to come in that area to the fire lane by the mailbox. Truck may park in the fire lane. Chief's car may park over by the mailbox. Go take your vest and yourself out there and talk to them. Let the ushers and the leaders take care of getting families and kids out of the church. That's the process. And if you are missing anybody, again, if you're missing anybody, then let the leaders know. For the CLC, the head usher is responsible for talking to their people, the ushers, before the service. Who's going to do what in the event of an emergency? This is the theory, Kurt, and I don't know how well it would work because I don't know that we talk to each other before the service and get this established. I've wondered about it for both of them because we'll talk about the CLC and we'll talk about the sanctuary next, but this is the CLC. And the procedure is roughly the same in both cases. Some people are going to go help people out. Some people are going to come looking down here at the 200 wing. Over in the CLC, they're going to be moving, looking at the community room, at the rooms around the outside. And then once you're sure that people are moving and going in the right direction, then come back and help people get out. Some ushers will stay there in the CLC. Some will stay in the sanctuary to help guide people out of the building.
Well, and if the fire alarm goes off, the fire door goes down,
right?
Right. So then we're essentially two churches. Well, not
yes.
two churches, but then that's why Lynn would
like two buildings.
Lynn would be like the head over there, and then I would be over here, and we would need both sets of ushers helping get people out.
Yeah.
Because the fire door stuff.
Yeah. We'll talk about the fire door later, but yes, that's a good point because have any of you been here when the fire door's been down? Yeah. Okay. So this part of the structure is grandfathered into the system. We didn't have to put sprinklers in it. The new part has a sprinkler system in it. So the fire door was, in fact, that whole wall, the library, the area along behind the coffee pots, the area down to the youth wing, and down that youth wing hallway between these classrooms and the hallway, those are all firewalls. So there's supposed, I can't remember what the specs are, but anyway, it's supposed to be a couple of hours of fire resistance there. So we're not required to have the sprinklers in here. It would have been very expensive. We looked at it when we were building the building and renovating this. So there's a fire door there. It comes down. It doesn't come down as fast as it used to. They've changed the rules on us, fortunately. It used to just come bang. You had about 2 or 3 seconds warning and then it was coming down. Now there's a governor on it and it comes down more slowly. It still comes down pretty fast. But it's not like I got to worry about somebody getting killed out there. But there was a lot of discussion in past years about, yeah, that's kind of scary, and that's why those signs are on frame around it, because it came down so fast. The fire code decided that it was much safer to have that door come down and protect the people on either side of that door than it was to have to worry about somebody standing under it. They still take that approach, but now they allow it to come down more slowly.
The door really isn't fire retardant; it's a screen, isn't it? To keep people from traversing.
No, it's a solid metal.
Is it metal? Okay.
Yeah. And it's not up there very tight. We had one stepping forward night. We had some kids playing and going up there and batting at it, and the door came down. If you go up there and tug on it, if you're tall enough to tug on it, or you want to try it sometime, it'll start coming down for you. It's just barely up there, just enough tension to hold it up, because you want it to come down fast. And this is standard for fire doors. I dealt with a lot of them in PG. Okay, get the next one, Tim. Sanctuary talks about what we expect the ushers to do for the sanctuary and the CLC. So use reasonable effort to get people out. Use reasonable effort to keep people from coming back in. People do crazy things in fires. They do crazy things when their kids are involved.
And do you think it's a reasonable challenge, or if there was a fire, wouldn't you want to leave the same way you came in, and then from the sanctuary you you couldn't probably, because that fire door would be down.
The natural
That would
tendency is
be-
to try to leave the way you came in, which is not
So
always the
that
best and
is something to
fastest
keep
way
in
out.
mind if they're ever, because people coming out of the sanctuary will not be able to go back.
Right. They're going to want to, and they're going to try to get to their kids. If they've got kids in the nursery or in a classroom somewhere,
Doors down.
the door's down. You can't. So it's one of the things I'm guessing they probably taught y'all when you're talking about getting out of a building. Look around. It's like we talked about the fire maps. Where's the fastest way out? But it's probably not the way you came in necessarily.
Will the ushers be telling parents that children are already out? You know what I mean? Because teachers are taking the class out. Therefore, parents need to know their child's probably already by the tree line.
Yeah.
So,
Because we're leaving fast.
because we're moving
If
fast.
that alarm goes off, my kids are not going
Right.
fast.
So for them to walk, it would make more sense for them to know.
We know it'll be mass chaos because
Right.
even if the ushers remember to say those things, if they're not too focused on trying to make other things happen, parents may or may not hear them.
Right.
It's an emergency. People react in emergencies, and that's why Michelle Burling told us, think about it, because your body can't go where your brain hasn't been. And we did fire drills in here one time, over one weekend. We did it for all the services. And when we talked to the insurance people said, don't bother. Said, people are so used to doing fire drills. We haven't killed anybody in a fire in a church since the mid-50s. That's not what you worry about now. So if somebody asks you that question, that's what the current thinking is. We know what to do. Most of us are kind of an automatic. Fire alarm goes off, you get out. Biggest problem is the fire alarm goes off and people just sit there and look at each other. We had that happen at an upward practice one morning. And actually I think it was game day. It's been several years ago. People just sat around, the fire alarm's going off, and they're just sitting there looking at each other, wondering what to do. Instead of somebody taking some leadership and just getting out and trying to take people with them. That particular one turned out to be a non-issue, but it's indicative of the attitude that we sometimes have. So you as leaders need to take a role. If the fire alarm goes off, if some other emergency happens, and you recognize what's happening, be a leader. Doesn't mean it'll be comfortable or necessarily easy, but go ahead and take some initiative, and other people will follow you, and then people who know what to do will start to do the things they know how to do. Large events like stepping forward, I know some of us look at stepping forward. So pull fire alarm, evacuate the building, call 911. Our system is tied into a alarm system in Cleveland, or up in that Cleveland area. But it's not automatic. It doesn't go straight to the fire department. There's a delay, and the controls company will try to call us to verify that it's real and not somebody tripped something accidentally. So there is a delay once that alarm is tripped. It's not automatic. My memory is it's 2 minutes. If somebody doesn't react within 2 minutes, then they will start trying to check on us, and however long they've got at least 2 calls to make. So they will try somebody else. I think I'm second on the list. So it's going to be several minutes before anything happens, before the fire department gets called. So going back to one of those early slides, if you see fire, see smoke, are suspicious, go ahead and call 911. Pull the alarm anyway. But go ahead and call 911, call the fire department. Let them know. That'll be faster than anything else we can do. And that says notify the business director. That's either Julie, that's either you or Tim, and y'all need to figure that out, who you want first on that list.
Tim.
Okay. I was hoping I was going to stay in because I was going to meeting about that. So, and always stay out of the building until the fire department says it's okay to come back. Let them check. Okay. Fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers are located around the building. I don't know if any of you have ever had any training on fire extinguishers. Yes. Amy has a little. We've done fire extinguisher training here for the staff. It's been 3 or 4 years since the last time we did it. We can do it again. The fire department is perfectly happy to do it for us. So if you're trained and feel comfortable, if you're not trained and you feel comfortable doing it, think you know what you're doing, and it's a little fire, go for it. I'd still call fire department, call 911. But if it's a little fire, go after it. It's okay. But it's up to you. How comfortable do you feel with it? If you use a fire extinguisher, they're all except 2 of them are pretty similar. They're all the ABC type that you can use on any kind of fire. We've got some in the office area that are especially for electronic equipment, electrical equipment. And then in the kitchen, over the range, there's a fire hydrant. And it's designed to fight grease fires and that sort of thing. It will deploy automatically, or you can pull it and make it deploy. The fire extinguisher, they all have pins in them. So pull it off the rack, pull a pin, and then give it a squirt. Don't walk up to the fire before you try it. Make sure you try it first before you go after the fire. And then aim at the base of the fire. Not at the flames, doesn't do any good. Aim at the base of the fire, you're trying to cool it off. And when the extinguisher is exhausted, and if your adrenaline is up like it would be in a situation like that, you probably will use the whole extinguisher on whatever you've got. Don't turn around. Back away from the fire. Never turn your back on a fire, even one that you think is active, because they can reignite. The firemen tell us that. That's what I was trained on at P&G. Never turn your back on a fire. Always pull it and check it first. Okay. Any questions about fire or how we deal with that? Okay. Let's go to weather. Okay. There are people designated to monitor weather conditions on Sunday mornings and other times, and we're going to talk about that. So go to the next one, Tim. Yeah, okay. Large events, the on-site ministry leader is responsible. Yeah, on Sunday mornings, the coordinators are. We'll talk about that a little bit. If you're in a room with a small group, whoever your leader is responsible for monitoring the weather. You may designate somebody else, delegate it, but you're responsible under our emergency procedures. So that has implications, I know, for all of us at different times. So, okay, now we get to you, Amy. You and Lynn, I guess. Mm-hmm. The alternate, Kurt, is the head usher and additional. Okay. And you monitor what's going on. And you can do that. The walkie-talkies that are in the column, at the foot of the crow's nest, and the one in the cabinet over by the community room closet, coat rack, all have radios that are weather capable. So you could go there and monitor. The intent, too, is that somebody can sit here at the receptionist desk and monitor the weather off that computer there. Now we've all got phones. You can probably do almost as well now with your phone as you can with some of those resources. Keep an eye on the weather. And I think we know now that the password and the username don't work since we got Nexigen, and something went awry with the transition. So that's another one of my follow-ups. Okay, go to the next slide. Just a watch, just keep doing what we're doing. Somebody monitors and kind of keeps track of it. Don't need to do anything else, just keep an eye on it. You get a warning, now you gotta do something. There's a siren down here at the corner of Cox and Barrett, which in severe weather, you may or may not hear, because it's not designed for us to hear it inside a building. And I'll talk about that with the next slide, though. We call it a tornado warning if the National Weather Service issues a warning. They see it on the radar, think it's coming. There's a credible public sighting of a funnel cloud, or some emergency management official sees something. That's the criteria for having a tornado warning. We go to the next one, Tim. Because when we get a warning here and that siren goes off, then that means there's actually a credible threat to this part of Butler County, to this township. Butler County is trying to be very responsible and very careful with how they deal with this. So if it's going to hit the north part of the county, all we'll see is a tornado watch. We won't see a warning. So only if we have a real threat here will the warning sound for us. And that siren out there, in the church often when they test it, we often hear it. And blowing wind or anything like that, you might not hear it. It's designed to alert people outside to take shelter. They assume if you're inside, you have other ways of monitoring what's going on. That's true all over Butler County. I'm guessing it probably is for Warren County, but I don't know. There are 3 shelter areas in the church. We've had the fire marshals and some structural engineers look at this to verify it. If you look, the CLC is one of them. I don't know if you can see that. The CLC is one right here. The area here outside the kitchen is another one. And then the 200 wing hallway right out here is the third one. All of those are designated shelter zones. They don't have any windows exposed to the outside, no direct path, and we know structurally that things are sound. Any of the restrooms in an emergency should be fine too. We just didn't call them out. And each of those areas has an emergency weather kit. For this wing, it's in 205. Look up in the cabinet, it's marked on the door. The one for the outside the kitchen, there's a cabinet in the hallway above the coat rack, and the CLC's at the foot of the crow's nest. They all have blowhorns, emergency radios, and a reflective vest for whoever's in charge in that area. Questions about tornadoes? Okay.
So
Siri?
wait a minute. So
Yep.
on a Sunday morning, I have the education wing full of kids.
Yep.
In the preschool, we go into the CLC, line up against, but there'll be contemporary services going on there. Is that going to be still the same plan? Because it seems like 200 is very far to walk.
I wouldn't try to come over here. I would either go to the hallway outside the kitchen community room or go into the CLC.
It's just so that in my head for next year's
Yeah.
training.
The CLC is probably the best place to go
Just
if you got room.
If, like, would sanctuary be going into the,
Some will come here, some will come to the CLC. Yeah.
so it might be. I was just trying to process.
Yeah. The CLC walls are concrete block all the way up to the roof, even though it's a tall roof and kind of exposed. That was one of the questions I had for the structural engineer. He says, no, that's still a good, strong, safe area. Where the others, if there's no windows in line with anything here, and over there the same. It's true, and it's a one story thing. So get in the hall, pack the hallways like sardines. Okay. Serious injury and illness. There are first aid kits around the church. One at the foot of the crow's nest. There's office workroom. I think yours is in the preschool workroom. Down that hallway still. There's one in the kitchen. There's one in the nursery. What did I look at? One here in 205. So there are first aid kits around. Most of this should feel like pretty standard procedure to you. It shouldn't be strange. If it is, let's talk about it. Stop and give assistance. Call for help if you need to. You have to shout. Whatever works for you to get help. On Sunday morning, plenty of people around an issue. In a meeting in the evening, or you're back. We have stepping forward and you're back somewhere or down this hallway somewhere in a classroom. It's a little bit different. But get help any way you can. You've got a concern. Do an assessment of a person's condition. What do you need to do? If you need to call in EMS, call 911. Most people today either carry a cell phone or normally if there's more than a couple of us here, somebody's got a cell phone. So you can get help. The normal fire department response time is 5 to 8 minutes. Sometimes they're faster than that, but that's pretty typical. If you have any questions, call 911. Sometimes the person will tell you, no, don't let me call out. You have to make a decision. You look, you evaluate. If I'm concerned about that person's condition, even if they're telling me not to call, I'm going to call. Twice now I've been in situations where the person didn't want me to call. I wasn't the lead person either time, but I was around for both of those. So that's not an uncommon thing to have happen for people to react, particularly people who don't think they're hurt badly, and usually they're not. But don't take any chances. Just go ahead and call. So it's what the fire department told us too. I'd rather you call, not have it be a big deal, than to have something go wrong, and we didn't take the appropriate action.
And on Sunday morning, we can get the Westchester cop, so we can get the ambulance here faster than calling 911.
Yes, that's true. I forgot that, but yes, that is true.
That's what we learned last year when
Call.
we passed out.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Just come
Get
get
our
me because
police.
I'll get the bus here faster than you.
Because that gets routed through the 911 call center, then they've got to call the fire department. Fire department's got to call the right station. Then they dispatch them.
You can just talk to the
He's
shoulder.
talking to his radio and have the right station coming at us right then. Because the nearest station's about 3-4 minutes away. Any questions about that? If you've dealt with kids or been in any kind of setting, most of this is probably just like what you've seen before. Okay, utilities. Y'all know what natural gas smells like? Anybody not? We have so many electrical appliances in our homes today that sometimes when I teach these classes, people go, no, I don't think I do. It's a skunky smell. It's in the same chemical family as the odorants in skunk spray. And it's very persistent. It's smellable at very low levels. And one of the things I learned in my technical safety work at P&G is that the level is set so that you smell it when you're at about 10% of the lower explosive limit. So there's a safety margin there. But still, don't mess around. If you can smell it, get out. So, and this has got to be changed because if you got one of these situations, call me, call Randy, call Rick Martini. We got to figure out who else to put on that list, who else to train for where the cutoffs are.
I'm just gonna say Pastor Tim.
Yeah, that's right.
Pastor Tim has decided he's dealing with the facility, so maybe you can have a go.
Probably the more people that know the better.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly happy to take anybody around and show them
Yes.
before to cut stuff off.
Yep. Good to know.
Okay. Gas leak, gas line break. I was getting ahead of myself here. Get out. Don't touch your phone. Don't touch your light switch. Don't touch
Like
the
a
telephone.
picture. Gary.
Yeah.
Gary's humor.
Yes. I don't know if you've seen any of the little viral videos of people in the gas station fueling a car and somebody starts talking on a cell phone and it ignites. Mm-hmm. Sometimes in the winter there's enough static electricity to start one. I mean, it's improbable. It's relatively rare. Don't take any chances. Just get out and call from outside the building. We used to, I know P&G is safety crazy, but we were the only company in the business. Part of what I did was work in oil extraction, solvent extraction for vegetable oil, solvent extraction. We were the only company in the business that never had a fire. We were nuts. People told us that. But we didn't take any chances. Because we're dealing with highly flammable chemicals in large quantities. And a production process we didn't want to lose. So, people first, then the building, the structure, but don't take any chances. And so when I talk about it, I tell people just get out, get away from it, and then call. Call Duke if you need to. Okay, electrical, just call Duke Energy if there's an issue. We know where a lot of the electrical connections are. We know where the disconnects are, where the circuit breakers are. If you get in a situation like this and you're here and part of the power goes out, that's not a call Duke Energy. You lose everything, call Duke. You lose part of it, call me, call Andy.
And we have all of the numbers and stuff in all the preschool cabinet, or all the Sunday school cabinets of all the children's, including the door. So
I wouldn't know which door.
it's on the door when you open your door to get your stuff out. It's like laminated. It has the Duke and
Okay, I'll look and see because I've never noticed it.
oh, great.
And I teach this stuff and
Yes,
help
I
develop
know.
the rules. So.
Yes, they're in every classroom.
Okay.
Not that in a crisis you would think to.
Yeah. Water line break, call the county, but there are 2 water inlets into the building. One's over here by the youth room, the other one's back here in the office area. I can show you where those cutoff valves are. That would cut off anything inside the building, except the sprinkler system, which is different. But any of the like water, drinking water, toilet kinds of stuff, those kinds of things we have control over.
It's a standard shut off, like in our house. Or is it something special?
I think they're both, but yeah, it's a valve and they're marked. There's a red tag hanging on by the window, right? That's what it's supposed to be. Okay, fun stuff. Not fun. Suspicious people. You get a suspicious person on church property. We look suspicious enough already, but I'm talking to somebody else. And one of the things that some of the policemen and former FBI agents and FDA people that I talked to said, do you feel funny? Does it feel not right? Trust your instinct. If you're feeling funny, the hair on the back of your neck standing up, you're uneasy, that's a trouble signal. Your body is sensing that something's not right. Well, trust your body. There's a book that one of them gave me to read called The Gift of Fear. It's trust your body. Your body's saying that for a reason. If it's suspicious, I'm not talking about somebody. If you walk, oh, that person looks dressed kind of funny or just different, look like they're lost. That's not what I'm talking about. If somebody is giving off bad vibes, trust yourself. React that way. And if there's any question at all, call 911 and get away. If you're relatively okay with it, talk to them, see if you can really help them. And if you're feeling threatened or unsure, call police. And if you're here during the day, when the receptionist is here, we have procedures for how to deal with it during the day. You get somebody strange at the door, what do you do? Okay, on Sunday, supposed to notify the leaders and directors by walkie-talkie. That didn't work very well, actually, because people forget to turn them off. And we still don't have a good process for this because we have cell phones, and you can call my cell phone. You might even have me on a list that says, okay, call my cell phone, and a bunch of phones ring, except I have mine turned down, so it only vibrates. And as a teacher, I'm doing my best to ignore it because our daughters send us text messages and all kinds of stuff on Sunday mornings because some of them are in the Central Time Zone rather than the Eastern Time Zone, and so they're not going to church yet. They're up and getting around and sending me grandkid pictures. So I'm busy ignoring my phone. So one of the items on our wish list is an intercom system, but it's not at the top of the list yet. It's something Sue and I have looked at for a number of years, but it's a wish list. We put it on Tim's this time for taking to the finance committee, so that they know it's on our wish list. But don't know how long it'll be before that happens. Don't have a good method for dealing with this right now. One that I feel comfortable with. But if you know we can pass the word, if we actually figure out some way to make this work, then lock your doors. Stay in lockdown until it's safe for preschool. Let's have lots of practice with this. And you're locked down, be ready to get out if you have to. If they used to teach you as shelter in place, it's not the current teaching, not anymore. Get out. And we're going to talk about that. Well, sort of, almost. I'm getting there. Okay. If you find a weapon, you become aware of one on church property, then don't touch it. Stay with the weapon. Whoever found it stays with it, and just keep others away and call the police. It can be a knife, it can be a firearm, whatever it is looks like a weapon. Just isolate it and keep people away. Call for help. If you see somebody with a weapon, assume it is an active violence situation. Don't look for the best in the situation. Assume the worst and react accordingly. Because that's the world we live in now. Get away. Call 911. Don't try to disarm the person. Do everything you can to get out of harm's way, to get other people out of harm's way. Don't confront the person. Don't argue with them. Get out. Leave them alone. Okay. If it truly is an active violence situation, let other people know. Holler, shout, whatever it takes to send the message. Get out if you can. In most cases, the way this building is configured, there are ways out. Get out, disperse, go as far as you can, get out into the community, into the neighborhood. That's what the preschool does that. Their instructions are to get out of the building and keep going. Get into the neighborhood, away from the church. If you get trapped in a room, barricade the door. I know the preschool's got means to do that, and we practice this. So look for any way out, pathway to safety, a window. This is another place where you have permission to break windows and do whatever you got to get out. Get away from the situation. If you get trapped, do what you got to do. Go after the individual who's got the weapon or who's threatening. It's a last resort, but don't just sit there passively. Do something. We think about what happens if we get somebody in the sanctuary. They've gotten as far as the sanctuary. They're coming up the aisle. We don't know what to do. Well, in the sanctuary, there are lots of weapons. What are the weapons?
Hymnals.
Hymnals, Bibles, throw things. If you've ever tried to shoot a gun or talk to somebody who's familiar with firearms, there are multiple steps involved in actually hitting a target accurately. If you can disrupt any of that, even a little bit, you increase your chances and everybody else's chances of getting through it. They ran a drill with us a couple of years ago where they had one of the policemen, who's the local resource officer. He came in, they had us in the community room, and first time we were supposed to just sit there and not do anything. Felt really stupid with it. And his handgun coming in, and you're setting targets. Well, the next time they had us do things to resist, they gave us little squeeze toys, and as he came in, you're supposed to throw things at him. And this is a trained officer, trained to deal with emergency situations. He knows this is going to happen, and he still flinched when we started throwing things at him. Anything you can do to disrupt the process in the shooter's mind gains everybody time and distance. Any questions there? Sunday mornings, what are you going to do? Get away? Notify anybody that you can? Call the police? Get to the perimeter. This says perimeter of the parking lot. I'm not sure now. I might just keep going. Come back later. And there is a scenario now that we've seen in Europe and some other places where somebody does something to create a disturbance in a building. People evacuate to the parking lot just like good little people do, and the bomb's out in the parking lot. I don't know what to do right now. Police are still saying get to the edge of the parking lot and then use your judgment about what to do from there. And I'm sorry if any of this makes you comfortable. My older daughter just went through an active shooter drill with her school last week. She gets sick at her stomach every time it happens. She deals with it well until after the fact. And then she calls us and we talk about it. She said in some of the preschool training group. It's an unpleasant situation, an unpleasant scenario to think about. But give it some thought. What are you going to do if something happens? What do you do with the people you're responsible for? I'm kind of wired to be a protector. That's how God made me. And that's why I ended up in the work I did for P&G. Didn't know that for many years, but I figured that out. So my reaction when the policeman came through the door was to go after him with a chair. Everybody else ran, which is what they told us to do. So, but think about what you're going to do. And the more scenarios you can run through your mind, the better prepared you are to deal with something. Hopefully it will never happen. They're still relatively rare despite all the attention they get. But it's something we got to live with. Okay. Give me the next one there, Tim. Suspicious. If you see a suspicious package, it could be a backpack, could be anything. If it's before a service, notify your worship leader notified the people, the ushers, and call 911, decide if we need to evacuate. Secure that area so nobody else can get to it. If it's got powder in it or anything that looks like it's leaking out, don't touch it. Anybody that gets exposed to it, we have showers in the building, stick them under the shower. We've done that. Not had to do that. We had industrial chemicals accidents, and we have stuck people under safety showers. In this case, it was sulfuric acid. So we've done some of that. We have showers here. Turn the shower on, stick them in there. They'll sputter and keep sticking them in there anyway. Bomb threat, more likely to be called in, but keep the person on the line. We actually have a checklist in the receptionist desk if we get one during the week. And they have some stock questions to ask. A lot of the times the person who calls will stay on the line with you as long as you keep talking and asking questions. Get as much information as you can. I don't think anybody much answers the phone here on Sunday morning, so it's not likely to be a Sunday morning scenario or even an evening scenario because nobody's manning the receptionist desk. It would come maybe to your cell phone or something. Do what you can to learn as much as you can. You can signal other people to get out, get away, do that. So if you've got questions here, think about it. We can talk about it. There's more detail in the procedures themselves. Most of you have probably seen these, that they're around. We could get a written bomb threat. Thanks, man. If you get a written one, then bring it to somebody responsible and deal with it from there. Call 911 and decide if you got to evacuate or not. On a Sunday morning, that gets to be an issue because people don't want to make that decision. And I understand. So use your best judgment. Okay. Emergency numbers, there's a good list of emergency numbers. I know they're at the end of each of the sets of instructions, there's a list of those numbers. Looks like that. It's reasonably up to date. And something I forgot to talk about in worship services, we get a weather emergency and you have to need to shelter in place, Kurt. In the back of the emergency instructions, there's a sheet, a tear out sheet that says, go give to the worship leader, whoever's talking at the time, at the pulpit, yeah. And it's a one paragraph script that says, there's a weather emergency, there's a tornado warning, you need to go to the shelters, and then for the CLC, it says stay in here. For the sanctuary, it says go to 200 meters, go to the CLC. But it's just a written script, and because we know in that kind of situation, you're going to be a little rattled. All you have to do is just walk right down the center aisle with a piece of paper in your hand. And the theory is that the people in charge of the worship service know something's going on.